And I want to thank our Vice Chair for moving this motion. Honorable Speaker, this issue, as we all know, emanated from the budget of this financial year. When we made a budget with the hindsight of collecting the revenues that we projected, but as we all know, it wasn't possible for us to continue in that trend, and especially after the happenings that we witnessed in the country then. And therefore, the country had to downscale the projections of the revenue-raising measures. And in the wisdom of this House, Honorable Speaker, it was passed that all the arms of government, including including Parliament, the Executive, and the Judiciary, want to take their fair share of the burden of the revenue-raising measures that could not be realized. But with the wisdom of this House also, Honorable Speaker, this House approved also that even the two levels of government had to also carry their fair share of burden. And that is why we came here in the supplementary one consideration. And we were able to downscale our budget by approximately 200 billion shillings. Honorable Speaker, as we are all aware, Parliament here, we lost money because it was the most reasonable thing to do then, that we had to carry our fair share. Something that has never happened in this republic, where the Parliament of Kenya, superintended by the members of Parliament, passed a downgrade of NGCDF by approximately 10 billion Kenya shillings. That had also not been seen before. And therefore, in the wisdom of this House, Honorable Speaker, it was thought that since this was cutting across all departments and all sagas and all spheres of government, that our county government also had to carry their fair share. However, if we look at our current budget as it is after the supplementary one, Honorable Speaker, with a budget of 3.887 trillion Kenya shillings, we realize that over 1.008 trillion Kenya shillings is going into the payment of interest rates of our financial obligations, which are loans. Last financial year, Honorable Speaker, the amount of money the country expended on servicing loans was around 1.8 trillion Kenya shillings. And therefore, that is our main burden. The second one is that we have become more or less a government that takes up most of the responsibilities, and it happens even in economic theory. As the democracy grows, the people demand better and more services from government, and therefore government spending becomes bigger. That is where Kenya is, where we have government investing in healthcare, and therefore we have so much of our resources going into recurrent expenditure. The other day, Honorable Speaker, I was in Kiharu, and it was surprising to the people we were having a discussion with that some of the money we expend as a country on recurrent, on welfare, for example, the money we give to our parents who are over 70 years and above, it is hardly even possible for a policymaker to boast that we are spending money on welfare because it looks partly only 2,000. But the entirety of it, Honorable Speaker, is that we have budgeted for 30 billion Kenya shillings for that alone. And therefore, very little has been left for the major infrastructural development. And the more the reason, the haircut was applied to all arms of government and all levels of government, and that is why the equitable share fell from 400 billion to the current 380 billion, Honorable Speaker. However, in this budget, it reaches 410 billion because there is a carryover of 30 billion Kenya shillings from last year, which we could also not realize after revenue-raising measures. Lastly, in the recommendation of the Budget Committee, the wisdom of the committee was that when we budget for money and there is a shortfall of revenue, that
give him an additional 2 minutes. being the chair of the Budget Committee. Proceed.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I was concluding by saying, in the report of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, we had indicated in a clause that in case we budget for these monies, and by the close of the year, the country does not realize these monies, that the two levels of government were to share the shortfall proportionately. So that, Honorable Speaker, you know, we can budget to have revenues of 2 trillion. What would happen? By all means, the country only releases 1 trillion. We are obligated by passing the division of revenue that then we have to pay the county governments the stipulated amount. What if our revenue raising measures are so drastically down that they undermine even other areas like salaries? That is why in the context of the committee, we thought we safeguard the 15% in terms of shortfall, but any shortfall over and above the 15%, then the two levels of government were to share proportionately given the shortfall. I thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you very much.
MP for the Honorable MP for Kisauni. Zimba.
Yes, sir.
Proceed.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika kunipa fursa na mimi kuweza kuchangia hii mswada wa nyongeza ya fedha kwa serikali za ugatuzi. Nimesimama hapa kukubaliana na bajeti, kamati ya bajeti kwa hali zilivyo sasa katika taifa kushindwa kupeleka fedha hizo katika serikali za ugatuzi. Ingawa kwa sasa naweza kukubaliana kwa vile hali ni ngumu kidogo, lakini wakati hali itakuwa nzuri ni vyema sana fedha zirudi zishuke mashinani. Kwa sababu wanapopata fedha serikali za ugatuzi, mambo mengi yanaendelea katika sehemu tofauti katika taifa hili. Hata sasa mabadiliko yale ambayo yako katika taifa ni kulingana na serikali za ugatuzi. Wakati wa zamani ilikuwa fedha zote ziko katika serikali kuu. Ilikuwa ni vigumu sana kushuka katika sehemu nyingine, ndio sababu unapata sehemu zingine ziko nyuma, sehemu zingine ziko mbele. Kwa hivyo wakati mambo atakuwa shwari, fedha zende zaidi pale kwa mashinani, hata hizi nyongeza wanazozitaka wao. Ikiwa itawezekana, wale seneti wangekaa wakafikiria kwamba hizo fedha za nyongeza wapewe wale ma-MCAs wale, iwe zinawasaidia, at least wanaleta maendeleo katika mashinani, inakuwa rahisi chini zaidi. Mjumbe analeta CDF, wao wapewe fedha pia nao ma-MCA wafanye miradi, na serikali ya ugatuzi nayo ifanye miradi. Inakuwa ni rahisi sana kwa watu wetu kuendelea kwa haraka na sehemu kubadilika, kuweza kufukuzana na sehemu zingine mpaka kuwa sawa. Kwa hivyo kwa sasa ni kweli hali ya kitaifa ya kiuchumi ni mgumu sana, lakini bado anasema wakati itakuwa sawa, fedha mashinani ni muhimu zaidi. Hata mabadiliko, hata utulivu ulioko katika taifa umeletwa na serikali za ugatuzi. At least mtu anapata kibarua, wanafanya ile kazi kwa vijana, wanafanya miezi 2-3, wanajengalau wanajisaidia. Kama hawana fedha inakuwa mambo yote ni magumu. Na huku juu, huku katika serikali ya kati, tatizo ni kwamba mambo mengi yanagawanywa kiukabila, kinagawanywa katika hali ambayo